Hey everybody, it's Josie. Welcome back to Cedar Creek Homestead. It's Tuesday morning. It's quiet so far out on the homestead. Just as soon as the turkeys hear me though, they'll probably start calling, and Buddy's out eating his grass and he'll be ready for his breakfast. But everybody's getting good and started this morning, and I'm out and about, and I got pears to process today, and all kinds of things. But I just thought I'd get our come to you this morning, and I've got a few little things that I wanted to bring out and spend a little bit of time with you today. First, I wanted to say thank you to all of you that have offered up prayers and well wishes for Blade and Cheyenne and for baby Howie, and I appreciate them. And there's been a bunch of them, and I have went through and still working on getting through there to all of your messages, and I just simply can't put personal messages on all of them, but I'm trying to put a little heart just to let you know that I saw it. And so I'm going to tell you on here, I thank you, and I appreciate all that you guys have done. I've had messages over on Facebook. Y'all are inquiring, and we don't know anything yet. We will this afternoon. She has a doctor's appointment at 3, so we're hoping for the best. We've been praying, and we've done our best to keep her occupied, keep her calm, and keep her she's not been on total bed rest. The doctor didn't order total bed rest as of yet, but she wasn't supposed to lift anything. She wasn't supposed to do anything crazy or strenuous, and so we've been doing our best. We got her some coloring books, and we tried to find different things that would keep her entertained, and so we're hoping for the best this afternoon. So there's where we are with baby Howie, and update on Cheyenne's health. She feels good. The second thing I wanted to talk to you about was all that mess that's going on with the war coming to an end, and this is not a political thing at all, but I wanted to reach out to my family members and your family members all across this country that are servicemen and women that have ever served, have ever put on the military uniform. I want to say thank you from me and my family. We know and we understand and we appreciate the sacrifices that you have made, regardless of how things turned out. We appreciate you, and we thank you for your service, and we hope and pray that you understand that the American people are behind you, and that we support you going forward, that you have our gratitude, and we're thankful for that. And then the third thing I wanted to talk about today, as I had mentioned over on my Facebook page, that my sister and her family live in Ascension Parish in Louisiana, and they were under the gun, of course, for Hurricane Ida. Of course, my sister's not from Louisiana originally. She's from Arkansas, but she married a fella from there, and so she's lived there for quite a few years. But she's never went through a major hurricane. She experienced a flooding event back in 2016. Their house was flooded then. Their whole neighborhood was flooded. That was a rain event, but this was the first hurricane that she actually herself had experienced, and she did go through it. I talked to her on Sunday evening it was about 9:30 or close to 10 Central Time, and when I was talking to her, she was sopping up water. Water was coming into her house, so her house did take on water, and she was sopping it up, trying to she was fighting a losing battle. She eventually, through the night, they worked and worked and worked, trying to keep the water out, but it finally just got ahead of them, and they weren't able to do that. But I did get to talk to her, and everybody's safe. Her children, grandchildren, her husband, they're all safe, and so that was the most important thing once we made sure that they were okay. And that's got me to thinking about what to talk about today. because we have all of these issues that go on in our country, not just hurricanes, but now the remnants of Hurricane Ida are going up through other states, Mississippi and Tennessee and Alabama and Georgia that way. They're going to be dealing with flooding and with tornadoes and those kind of things out west, the wildfires, and I've been watching them, you know, people evacuating and the towns being destroyed by fire and all that kind of stuff. It got me to thinking that we still need to continue to talk about preparing, and that every situation and every scenario is different. That you need to kind of get in your head the scenarios that you yourself, you and your family might come face to face with. And so I thought we would talk about that today. Now, I'm coming to it after hearing my sister's story yesterday. I was finally able to get a hold of her. After hearing what she had to say, it made me think about the things that I have in place and to ask myself the question of if I'm good. And if there were weaknesses in her plan, weaknesses in my plan, and is there something else we could learn? You know, we've been at this a long time, and a lot of YouTube channels have been out there and have been putting out things that they're trying to teach you. Now, on the day-to-day, I don't live my life on a daily basis as preparing for the worst. I live my life daily. That's just what my life is. I live on a farm, and so a lot of the things that I do are geared towards farming, are geared towards this is my actual life. I actually eat the things I grow in the garden. We actually process some of the you know, some of the animals that we have here on the farm actually end up going to freezer camp and are a part of our dinner menu, and you know, they're invited to dinner and they're the main course, and you know, that's how we live our life. We, you know, we source water from our farm, or have the ability to do so, and so on the daily, excuse me, just like other channels, on the daily, they're showing you the things that day in, day out, that's how they live their life. And there's other channels that do other things in their daily life, but they are showing you how they prepare in case of emergency. All of these things are good things to learn, and all of these things are things that we need to go back and look over our list. And we've talked about making a list. I've told you over and over to make a master list. Make a master list and make sure that you have the things. So all day yesterday I tried to get a hold of my sister. When I got up yesterday morning, I began calling, and the first thing that I noticed when I called her, now she doesn't have a landline phone, they just have cell phones in their family. So the first thing I noticed was when I called, there was not even a like a ringtone. There wasn't anything when I called. It didn't ring and go to voicemail. There just was no sound at the end. There was nothing. So we just assumed, well, their phone lines are down, and probably maybe lost their cell phone towers. So I did the next best thing that I could. None of her children had cell service. Her husband didn't have nobody had cell service, and there wasn't anybody that I could contact to check on her. So the first thing that I did was I left her a message. Of course, I couldn't leave a voicemail because nothing was going through. So when I finally was able to, I went ahead and send a text, even though I didn't know, you know, if she would get it at all. I'd send a text message. So throughout the day, I kept calling to try, and it finally rang and went to voicemail. So I left her a voice message, knowing or telling her that it was me and that we were just checking on them and making sure that they were okay. And as soon as she could, to call us and let us know that she was all right. And I had to pray and just leave it at that, not knowing. So late yesterday evening, on Monday evening, I got a hold of her finally. And they were okay as far as health. Nobody was hurt. Her children were good. Grandchildren were good. But they did take on quite a bit of damage to their home. The water, like I said, she was trying to sop the water up, she used all of her towels, got her mop bucket out, tried to, keep the water mopped up, and it was just a losing battle. And so the water did come in their house. I don't believe it got very high up on their walls or anything, but their floors and their baseboards, all of that's going to have to be replaced. Her roof got severe damage. Her storage building, a tree went on, I guess toppled or crushed her storage building. Her privacy fence is gone. Stuff is blowed around. They had already secured a lot of things, but these are things, the building and the fence and that stuff couldn't be secured, and so they lost those things. I think she said a person in her neighborhood, their chimney blew off. And so now that they've made their first assessment of things, and they've got their power or their phones back on. Now my sister has one phone service and her daughter has a different phone service. I'm not gonna call names, but my sister has spotty phone service. Her daughter has better phone service with the company that she's with, so it's easier probably for me to get through the daughter than it is through my sis. So I began, after I made sure she was okay, and I talked to her for a little while. I couldn't stay on the phone a long time because I knew she only had a certain amount of service. But I did ask some questions, and probably annoying because I'm sure that everybody in our family that live here and in Arkansas that's got a hold of her is probably ask her all the same questions. But nonetheless, there's no electricity. Not really sure when electricity will come back on. Her house is total electric, which means she had her cook stove, her hot water heater, all those things are electric. So I began to ask those questions. They do have a big swimming pool, and so there's a water source there, and I know that grosses people out, but you can use that water if you need to. Especially if you need it to wash yourself off. Now they have water, so they are able to shower, but it would have to be a cold shower. But if you were dirty and nasty, cold shower is better than not any shower at all. She can, they have, that she told me that they have a propane cooker, because they do those, whatever you call those, they have them boiled dinners, whatever it's called, where they boil those little crawdads or whatever them are. And so she does have propane cooker, and her son-in-law has a propane, I think she said smoker. Her husband has the smoker, but it's electric, so they can't use that. And so then I began to ask her, do you have a generator? Her answer was no. My little sister did not have a generator. Living in hurricane country, she did not have a generator. Her daughter and her son-in-law do, so they brought their generator over, and so she does have access to a generator. But hopefully my little sis going away from this will get herself a generator to have there at her home. They're planning on, they've had plans in work to purchase land and move and begin to build a homestead or a small farm and have their children close on the farm as well. So they do have plans in the works, but I hated to hear that she didn't have a generator and some things in place. I asked her about her freezers. What is she going to do about that? they're going to rely on that generator as much as they can, as long as they've got gas. I'm assuming it's a portable generator, and so, you know, they'll have to be able to get gas for it. And right now there's long lines at the gas station. The pictures are coming out of there. So I don't know how much gas she has stored. So there's another thought. Having gas, having a generator, you got to be able to have the juice to make it go. So whether it's propane or whatever other means that you use, there's that. So, for the foreseeable future, I'm assuming my sister and her family will be cooking outside. But there poses another issue. They live in Louisiana. You know, I know it's hot here in Oklahoma, so I guarantee it's hot down there in Louisiana. They'll be able to cool off in the swimming pool if they need to. But still, you know, it comes the issue at night when you're used to electricity, when you're used to having air conditioning and fans. All of a sudden, you know, they're not going to be able to run the air conditioning all night long. So they're going to have to try to figure out some ways of keeping cool. Now, I have a DeWalt fan that runs on a battery, just like your drill. It's just the same kind of battery, and it's a rechargeable battery that runs on a drill. Doesn't run on a drill. It's a rechargeable fan that runs on a battery, and you just plug it in just like you would plug a drill in, and you're able to have some air that way. So we are also Blade is considering putting in a mini split. That would be a little bit easier to run on a generator than what a air conditioning and heating system would be. We're still considering putting in a whole house generator here at our home. But one of the things with that is to keep your propane or whatever. Now my dad and mom have one, and theirs runs on natural gas, but here it would be propane. So part of your being prepped up is to make sure that your supplies, your long-term supplies, are prepped up. And you know, thinking about my sister's thing and all the stuff that was going on with all of the hurricane victims and the flooding victims and the wildfire victims, I thought, you know, I'm not in the midst of any of those right now, but what can I take away from them? What can I learn from them? And so I got Blade on the phone with our propane supplier, just to make sure that our propane tanks are filled. We are, you know, in a few months we'll be going into the fall and winter season, and so those are things that need to be taken care of. I've been thinking about other things, and my sis, you know, she's gonna have a tough little time here for, I don't know, next week or so, depending on how long it takes her to get her electricity back on. And I'm eager to talk to her again after she gets through this. Now, I know that there's repairs that's going to take a little time to get to, because everybody down there's got repairs that they're going to have to do to their homes and their businesses, and so that'll take a little bit longer. But I'm curious to talk to her about how she dealt with the food in her freezer, and how she dealt with cooking every day outside on open, you know, in that cooker, because you know, I know they have big pots to cook them crawfish. That's what it was, crawfish bowl. I know she's got that, but you know, what about her skillets, and you know, what about the other things, and what are they going to feed her little grandchildren? And so I've got so many questions, and I'm sure you guys do too. You can think about, you know, what about this and what about this? But that's why we prepare. That's why we do what we do, so that we've got those things. Now, I would hope in a situation like my sister finds herself in, is she's got to use that freezer stuff, because she doesn't have any other, I guarantee you she doesn't have any canning jars and canners or any of that kind of stuff, and or that she even knows how. And I'm not putting my sister down. I love my sister. And I'm concerned. I wish I could say, come here, baby sister. And I could, and I have done that, but she's going to stay down there where she's at. But, you know, if I could, I would wrap my arms around her and say, let me teach you how to do this. And there's opportunity after this is all said and done. I can't do it now, but after it's all said and done, I can, hopefully I'll be able to help her to learn how to can and to put some stuff up on her shelves. And if she had those things, and she had her canning supplies, she could pull that stuff out of her freezer and get it canned up. Now, it could be right now, too, depending on how tore up her neighborhood is. I know that when they had that flood before in 2016, they all got together, the neighborhood did, and they kind of all cooked and done things to help each other. And that may be something else that she can do, and I hope. Now, she'll have about... if her children and grandchildren are there, and her and her husband, there's probably 9-10 people that'll be there all together, and so they might be able to go through her. I don't know how much she has stored in her freezer, but they may be able to go through that food relatively quick. And if they keep that generator on it, you know, they don't have to run the freezer constantly. But anyway, food was the issue with her. I was thinking about another thing with her having to stay there, with them staying there. They're going to stay there now for sure. Was communication. Now, I know if your phone towers go down, there's not anything that they can do about that. You're kind of at the mercy of them. And she doesn't have a landline phone, so I do have a landline phone, and I have cell phone service too. And I've been hesitant to get rid of my landline phone. And Blade and Cheyenne, they want me to do away with landline totally. And I just, for some reason, I just feel like I feel a little bit more secure with keeping a landline phone in case the cells went out. But if you all let me know what you think. Do you still have a landline phone, or are you totally done with landline and all you have is cell phones? But Sissy, when her phone lines come back up, or her cell phones came back up, well, like I said, she's got spotty service. Her daughter has better service, but they're still going to have to charge their phones. And I know that they have that generator, and it sounds like that generator is going to be busy with everything they've got. So if I was able to get this to my sister, I would. There's no way that I can get it to her in the midst of everything that's going on. But I showed these things back when we got that freezing and that snow, when Oklahoma and Texas got that. I showed these things then. I'm not affiliated with this company at all. I'm just showing you that I got these. I got one for my in-laws, and I got one for Blade and Cheyenne, and I've got one, and I have an extra one. And these are chargers, and they're solar chargers, and you just lay it out and let it get charged up, and then you can charge. It has 2 ports here at the top, and you can charge 2 devices with this. And so I wish my baby sister had this, so that they could charge their phones up. But now, before the emergency, is the time to do this, to have these kind of things. Have it in place so that in the event of an emergency, you can charge those phones up and you can get a hold of family members. The other thing about the communication, and I've read this and I've heard a lot of other channels say it, and I haven't done it yet, is to have a means, a contact number, someone that you can call. And they say that sometimes it's best to call out of state. Example, my sis down there in Louisiana, if she would have called, when she got cell phone service, called home to somebody, and everybody else knew that that's the person that we called home to, that if something happened in our state, we called that person. So everybody else that was wanting to know if we were okay could also call that person. Now that might drive that person nuts to begin with, but could call that person, and that person could say, oh no, they're okay, I heard from them, this is what happened. And that kind of sort of happened with us because one of my brothers also spent the day trying to get a hold of my sister yesterday, and he wasn't able to get a hold of her, so he called me in a frantic about her, and I was able to share with him that I'd gotten a hold of her, that they were okay physically, you know, and explain the whole thing about there had been some property damage, but physically they were all okay. And that relieved him some too. So I think that's an important thing, to have a way to charge your cell phones if they're able to get cell phone service back up, and they have a way to charge the cell phones, and then a way, a contact person out of state, so that your family members can know that you're okay and can know going forward what they need to do. Do you need help, or, you know, whatever the case may be. So we've covered communication. We covered those generators. If at all possible, get your generator. It's not the best time to get a generator when you got a storm barreling in on you, because everybody else that doesn't have a generator is going to be doing the same thing. So if at all possible, if you have any, you know, any means possible to get your generator before the storm comes in, and then teach yourself how to use it. Now, I'm guilty in that, because Howie always did it. And then Blade is here to take care of things. But you know, Blade may not always be here. He may be, you know, out on a job or doing something with Cheyenne, you know, visiting, you know, they're probably not always going to be right here with me. And I need to make myself learn how to do some of those things. Learn how to turn that generator on. Learn how to, you know, plug things in, and what's safe and what's not safe, and, you know, what kind of wattage and all that kind of stuff that you need to know ahead of time. Just like we talked about a few weeks ago. Know where your gas shutoffs are. Know how to turn your electric off. Know how to turn your water off. Know how to do those things. In the event of an emergency is not the time to try to learn. Don't, you know, you're trying to get a manual out, you're trying to look up on Google, you're trying to, you know, that's not the time. Know ahead of time how to do those things. And it would probably pay to have a manual that also had those things, in case somebody else was here that didn't know how to do it, and they were in the middle of the emergency, they could at least look through there and see, okay, this is how I do it. Now, hopefully, I get a whole house generator, and it'll be a little bit even easier. But I don't think a generator's all that hard. I just never have done it. So learn that. Learn those skills ahead of time. Don't let the emergency be your time of going to school, you know. After the emergency, you can come back and you can assess and say, this is where our weaknesses are. And hopefully Sissy can, my sis can assess and say, this is what we need. Before we ever go through anything else like this, we're having these supplies. And we know that we're going to do this. And this was chaotic. We're not going to do that. And then she'll share that information with me, and I can apply some of that stuff. Sometimes that's how we learn, is through what we see other people go through. We learn from those things, and there's not anything wrong with that. We learn from others, and it keeps us from making some of the same mistakes. Now, we already know that we should have water stored up for drinking purposes. And down there where they're at now, I know that they're bringing in water, cases of water to people. I've read articles that say some of the stores are out of water, and if they don't have any electricity, they can't even get in the stores to purchase water. So you know, hopefully they've got water stored up. And that's another lesson for us, because we can only live 3 days without water. So have water, have a way to purify your water. Now, my sister's got that big swimming pool, and I know people are thinking that is gross. There's no way that I would drink out of that swimming pool. But if you don't have any way to drink or any means to get any water. Now, thankfully, my sissy's water is on, but then you have to make sure that your the places that are supplying the water, you know, are they able to keep that water clean? And is the water that's coming out of my sister's tap clean water? Does she have a means, do you have a means to, she's going to kill me when she sees this video of me using her as an example. But anyway, probably not, because I doubt she watches my videos. Anyway, I'm just teasing anyways. Do you have a means of cleaning that? And if you have a system that can clean, you can put that swimming pool water in your Berkey or whatever else you have that cleans, that you rely on, that's reliable, and you'll be able to drink that water. You can use a if you have a sun oven, it comes with a water cleaning kit in it, and you can clean your water that way. So she has a water source there, but she does have running water for now. So make sure you have your water sources. That is very, very important, that you have water, that you have your means of your food and stuff. And we've talked food, and we've talked food, and we've talked food. Stock your shelves. I know some people have asked me on here, and I've seen them asking questions of other channels, how do you know when you've got enough? Well, if you live out of your food pantry, if you're recycling all the time, then you just keep building it, because things are coming out and things are going in. Things are coming out and things are going in. So it's perpetual. You know, now I know that you have long-term things that you maybe not get in as much. But if you have an everyday working pantry, then it's perpetual, and you just keep working it. You never really get to a place where you say, I have enough, I don't have to do anything more. I can just sit back, not worry, not stress, and don't ever put anything back in your pantry. That's a mistake. You wanna keep working on your pantry, keep building your pantry, and you never know how many people you might have to help. Now, my sister's in a neighborhood. She lives in a suburb. And, you know, I know that her neighborhood is taking on damage. They've taken on some water. I don't think they're flooded as bad as they flooded back in 2016. But I know water has come in their homes. I know that, you know, they've got structural damage. There's no electricity. So my sister has 9 or 10 at her home that's family members, but she may have to be feeding some of her next door neighbors. And I know a lot of people say, I'm not sharing with anybody. But how in a situation like that could you turn anybody away? I don't, you know, we're quick to say that, but I don't know if we have any kind of heart at all, how you could say, nope, you fend for yourself, this is for me and mine. So you never know who's going to come along and be in need. So we've talked food, and we've talked water, and we've talked communication. Let's talk about hygiene. Now, my sis has running water, so they're able to take showers. But what if that running water turns off? And they don't have any running water, and there may be people there. I'm sure there are some people there that doesn't have any running water. Well, you need to keep clean as best you can. Now, are you going to be able to, you know, wash your hair and have, you know, luxurious bubble baths? No, you're not going to be able to do that in an emergency situation. But you do need to keep yourself clean. Wash your hands. Keep your hands as clean as you can keep them. You know, do those kind of things. If you get a cut, you know, they're in a situation there where there's dirty water, and there's been structural damage, so there's chances of getting cut, stepping on a nail, whatever the case may be. There's opportunity for them. Now, I'm talking the hurricane, and I know there's other things that's going on. I know there's floods. I know there's the fires out west. And with most of them, I think we'd be talking about leaving the area because they're being evacuated out. But anyway, you know, when there's structural damage, you know, and they're there and they're working to clean stuff up, it's important to stay clean. It's important if you get a cut or a scratch, try to take care of that cut or scratch. Get some antibiotic ointment. Get it, make sure that cut is cleaned out, and use peroxide or alcohol. I know that stings, and then get you some antibiotic ointment on there and get it covered. Try to keep yourself as clean as possible. They're going to be working with their the fences are down and all that stuff. They need work gloves, prepping items, work gloves, and put something on their feet. I don't like to wear shoes if I don't have to. I do out on the farm because you can step on something, and now when I was a kid I was barefooted all the time, but now I am diabetic, and so I try to really take care of my feet. And so if I'm out in the yard or out on the farm, I have shoes on, and not just flip-flops, but shoes to keep my feet protected while I'm out there doing those kind of things. And so you need to think about that. Have some foot protection, have some gloves, they're in Louisiana, it's hot and sunny, they need sunscreen, they need wear their hats, do all that kind of stuff. And I know all this stuff sounds silly and crazy, but we need to do all that we can to have these things ahead of time. If you have to get you a tub and just put a bunch of stuff in the tub, and make it an emergency tub. Now we use gloves and hats and shoes and stuff every day here. But if that's something that you don't always use, then find you a dedicated space that you can put gloves, hats, tools that's going to help you with cleanup and all that kind of stuff. Make sure that you have those hygiene products so that you can even, you'll be surprised when you're hot and your nerves are shot and you are stressed out because of this hurricane or the fires or floods or whatever has happened. You'll be surprised how much just being able to wash off and to brush your teeth will make you feel. So have some hygiene things put back. And then my next thing would be have some cleaning products. Now I know all of us have cleaning products because we clean our homes, but have some things so that you're going to be able to get these messes cleaned up. If like my sis had water come in her house, and so hopefully they're not going to deal with mold issues, but chances are with the heat and humidity and the water, different ones there are probably going to deal with some of that stuff. And so they need to know what to do there, and they need to have some I know people don't like bleach, but bleach kills mold. And have some peroxide and have some cleaning rags and stuff. That's another good prepping item that you can have for emergencies is rags. My sis used all her towels, her bath towels, she had the picture. She just had towels strung everywhere, trying to keep that water out, in her mop bucket and everything. And I thought about that. I wonder if she had enough blankets and enough sheets and enough stuff, to try to sop up that water. And I asked her yesterday when I was on the phone with her what she did about her towels, because she can't wash them. She doesn't have any electric. And she sure can't dry them, even if she plugged the generator in to wash her towels. Now she can hand wash them if she has her a good size pot or even a storage tub. She could fill it with soapy water and wash those towels and rinse them and wring them out. And if I started to say she could hang them on a fence, but her fence blew down, so she could hang them somehow, even if she had to drape them across the cars and let them dry. And but it pays to have some stuff. I've got a tub, and I throw old towels and old sheets and old blankets, things like that, kind of like I imagine people would rag bags. Now I know they're rag bags, they used it for quilting, quilt scraps and stuff, and my granny had a rag bag that she'd take out an old sock that lost its mate, or one of my grandpa's old white t-shirts, and she'd even put underwear, grandpa's old tidy whitey underwear in there, and use them for dust rags. And one time Howie told me, he said, don't you ever put that of mine in the rag bag. He was worried to death somebody'd pull out a pair of his old underwear, and I never did. But anyway, keep you a container, a plastic tub, and write on it rags. And then, you know, you never know if your washer's going to overflow, or you need to, you know, give a dog a bath and just grab an old towel and dry it off. Or here on the farm, we've always got an animal or something that needs to be dried off, or a spill or something needs to be cleaned up, and those rags come in handy. So there's all kinds of things that we can learn from these predicaments. You know, sometimes they're ours, sometimes we're in the midst of it, and sometimes, thank the Lord, it's not us that's in it, but we can learn from other people. The poor people out there that are having to leave their homes, that opens up a whole other book of what to do kind of things, because a lot of them are having to leave their homes. So when you leave your home, you have to begin to think about all kinds of other things. Not one, you need to think about having some cash money. Now, I wouldn't say you had to have thousands of dollars, but you need to know where you're going. Are you going to a relative's home, or are you going and you're going to try to stay at a hotel? Well, you better think about having some money, just in case, some cash money. You need to consider your pets. You know, you got a way to get your pets out. Now, some of you that have a dog or a cat or a fish or a bird, it would be relatively easy for you to take your animals. Now, sometimes when you have to stay at a shelter, you run into problems because the shelter doesn't want some shelters won't let you bring your animals with you. But if you have just those little pets, then that's not the biggest thing as if you have a farm. And you have to think about where are you going to do with your animals. I've seen, you know, people having to leave and figure out what to do with their horses, and their horses are having to be taken off and boarded at other farms and other ranches, and you know, so there's questions about all that stuff. What would you do if you had to bug out, if you had to leave, if you had to evacuate? About your animals, about your home. Are there things that you need to turn off before you leave? Are there valuables? Do you have enough time to take some of that stuff? What are the things that you would grab? You know, it would probably pay you to think about what are the things. Do you need to grab some food and water? Are you going to go far enough away and you have the money to just to eat your meals at a restaurant there, wherever you're staying? Are you staying with family and the food and the water is not an issue, so you don't have to worry about getting your food and water? Or is this something besides a natural disaster, something more long-term, I don't know, war or whatever it might be that would cause you to leave your home? Is it something that you need those supplies to go with you? Do you have your all of your birth certificates and shot records and insurance policies and all them stuff? Are they easy to get a hold of and get out of there with? All those things are important things that you have to think about and have a plan in place. And that's why a lot of YouTube people are doing the things that they're doing, is to simply beyond teaching you things. We bring you recipes and we show you the things that we're growing in our gardens, and we show you our animals and the things that we're doing with our animals, and we love to bring those things to you. But beyond that, we want you to be prepared in any kind of situation. Life has a way of throwing curveballs at us all the time. It's not always a hurricane. It's not always a wildfire. Sometimes it's sickness. Sometimes it's death. And I can speak to that one. life changes like that. Sometimes a life event happens, and after a little while, things go back to normal. You know, storm blows through, and it damages some of your trees, and you get them repaired, and things go back to normal, and life isn't affected too bad. Other times, a storm comes through and it destroys everything. And it takes you a long time to recover from that. Or sickness happens, or an accident happens and somebody gets hurt. We never know what the situation is going to be. Can we prepare for everything? Probably not. I would think that even the most prepared person that you know would tell you that there's always something that they didn't anticipate and didn't see coming. I can think of several things that's happened in the last year and a half to 2 years that I never saw coming. It hit me in the face like a ton of bricks. But we're still moving forward step by step, and we're keeping on with our preparations, and we're continuing to learn. I have a lot to learn, as do you. I don't think we ever get to a place. Now, there may be some people that think they have arrived and think that they have learned it all, that they know it all. And we've had people in our lives before that have actually told us that that they have learned everything that they needed to learn, and from a particular well, I'll just tell you, this particular person told us that they've read the King James Version of the Bible several times, and they just wasn't getting anything out of it anymore, so they were switching to a new version. And regardless of what version that you read, that was just silly to us, because we thought, you know, that's the living word, and you always get something out of it. You know, if you stop learning, where are you? You have the amount of knowledge and the amount of wisdom that that you chose to stop with. And I think that our minds are capable of so much more. We have so much more to learn. Hopefully, pardon me guys, I'm having a little bit of trouble with my throat and a little bit congestion this morning. But anyway, I hope that I brought a little bit to you today. Number one is to say thank you for all the prayers and all the support that we've got from you guys. Wow, you're amazing people, and you're loving and kind people, and we appreciate you for that. Number two, just to reiterate the thanks for also praying for my sister and for those others that were in Hurricane Ida's path. And three, to say that we can learn from those situations, even though we aren't directly affected by those things, that we can learn from them. We have opportunity to learn every day. If we'll just open our minds up, that we'll be willing. You know, sometimes people aren't willing to learn. They just turn you off. But if we're willing to learn, I guarantee you, if you try to learn something today, you'll do it. If you determine, you know what, I'm going to listen extra hard and just listen to what I hear people saying around me, I guarantee you'll learn something that you didn't. Now, I don't mean gossip. We can all learn gossip every day. You don't even have to try very hard. I'm not talking about gossip. I'm talking about learning something that is beneficial to you and yours. I guarantee you, if you try hard enough today, you can learn something. And it doesn't even have to take that long to learn it. Remember that experts in anything were once beginners. Remember that. You know somebody that you think, man, they know it all. They are expert in that. Well, that person was once a beginner, and they had to learn all of the things. So whether it's canning, and some of you on here are learning, and you're eager to learn, and you know, you want so bad to learn, and you've shared with me this is your first year, hey, that's great. You were a beginner, but as you go, as you continue to learn, you'll become an expert in your field. and you'll be able to teach others. And that's what it's all about, is teaching others, imparting some wisdom one to another. And we'll be all right if we do that. Well, guys, this is Josie, and I love you. I really do. I'm praying for you guys that are affected by all of these storms and all the wildfires and all those things. We're praying for our servicemen and women, past and present. Those of you that might feel discouraged, know that we love you, that we're behind you, and we're proud of you. And be encouraged. Be encouraged that those of us here know the sacrifices that you've made for us and our freedoms. Love you guys. I really do. Until next time, we're gone.